Well, welcome to this week's edition of Sales Club. Hi, I'm Wayne Dehn with 3D Pro Services. Today's session, we're going to talk a little bit how to talk to your prospects when they either don't believe or don't know that they need your product or service. And with me today is Jon Barry, one of the members of the ACA and the owner and founder of 1472 Fire Protection. And I'll let Jon kind of talk to you a little bit about that. But today, you might be watching this on our YouTube channel, but today is an early week in January when the fires are in California right now. And it kind of is only timing that when we did this podcast based on what's going on in California with the fire. So, Jon, why don't you introduce yourself as what your company is all about, and then we'll swing into how it relates.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Wayne. Thank you for having me on the podcast here. I'm Jon Barry, the owner of 1472 Protection. We've been in business since 2020, and most of that's been doing R&D because what we do is we design custom firefighting systems. And what that means is we take systems, like a sprinkler system for protecting a home or property from wildfires. And we've created a 4-stage system that will detect the wildfire, and then we have 2 stages of one will put a protective fire gel down, and then the second, when the fire gets closer for the ember attacks or ember fires, is we have a stage 2 where we create a water dome over each structure and the propane tank.
Okay.
To defend from the ember fire, but also keep the house cool inside so it doesn't implode. A fire, heats it up. It's like a tornado. You ever seen, when a tornado comes through, you see a house get blown out because the pressure builds inside. Well, the heat does the same thing. So we double check, make sure redundancy with the system here to ensure that the house is cool enough inside that doesn't implode. And the nice thing about it, the system we created for that, the exterior fire protection system, it has its own water, its own power, so it's its own standalone system. Because what's the first thing that goes when they have an evacuation? They turn off power.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I mean, last night watching the news, I don't know how many power lines I seen down out in LA. I mean, it's just, that's a wreck.
Well, I think we're going to get into that a little bit more about how your system could, prevent and what it could do out there with those fires that are going on now. But when we talk about related to sales, you've got a product or service that obviously people need.
Right.
But when it comes to selling a product or service, a protection, almost an insurance package, if you will, what's the biggest challenge you face when you're presenting your product or service to a potential homeowner who's like here in Colorado in the mountains? You've got wildfires in the mountains. It's obviously going to take longer for them to get the fire department up there. Your product creates a dome, just like right here in this building right now. I've got fire. I'm looking at the sprinkler system here. You're creating a huge sprinkler system over the property. So what's the problem that you run into? It seems like people should want your product.
You would think people, the biggest thing, one of the biggest obstacles we have is this industry is in its infancy still. I mean, it's been around less than 10 years.
Okay.
And a lot of people are still trying to wrap their mind around, oh, wait a minute, is there really a pain here? Like we talk about all the time with the pain. Especially here in Colorado, up here in Fort Collins, we got the Poudre and Risk Canyon. Well, their burn cycles are every 6 years. Okay. Every 4 to 6 years, they're burning somewhere. And I mean, and also here in Colorado too is we have 3 million people up in the mountains that live in the mountains. So over half the people live in the mountains in the state. But I mean, that's one of the biggest areas that I have for conveying, it's like, find that pain for people is, it's not if, but when.
Okay.
And a lot of people find it hard. They think, well, insurance will rebuild my house. But then I also tell them, do you have, 6 to 36 months to live outside your home and literally start over?
So that kind of leads to what our topic is today. How do you tell somebody
Right,
that they need your product, so you know they need it?
right. And that, and it's really hard. It's, a lot of people, they're like, well, and the biggest thing is, well, the insurance will pay for everything. Yes, the insurance will pay for everything. But, with cars getting smaller, you get evacuated. How many people are ready for evacuation? No.
So,
Well, I mean, I would say 2%.
well, remember, and those of us, or those of people that are watching this have gone through my training, it's my step-up system, size of the situation.
Yeah.
Take them to the pain,
Yeah.
extend the pain in the future, propose a solution.
Mhm.
Well, what your situation is, yes, they have pain, but are they willing to risk it? But what the next step is that extend that pain into the future. Hey, yeah, the insurance will pay to replace, maybe,
Mhm.
but are you gonna live, where are you gonna live for the next year while you rebuild your house?
Right.
So when you take them to the pain, do they see that, or, and again, how do they feel when you tell them these things? Do they get upset? Do they deny it? When you tell somebody
It's more of a deny
yeah.
than anything.
Well, I think that comes from when you tell somebody they have pain, they naturally resist. It's kind of
Oh,
like,
yeah, and I get it. I mean, it's naturally resist.
it's kind of, you might go to the doctor for just a checkup,
Mhm.
checkup. And during the checkup, the doctor starts listing all the things that's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Right. And do you go, oh, yeah, you're right. Or do you say, no, I'm sure that's not. Yeah. Nobody likes to be told they have pain. Because when we talk about critical parent in sales with Dr. Eric Burney's system of the ego states, the favorite words of critical parent is you should. You know what you should do? You should buy my product. You know what you should do? You should buy insurance.
Right.
When you tell somebody they should,
They're going to resist.
they're going to resist. It's because it's just that rebellious child in us that
Mhm.
comes out and say, well, by God, when you're trying to sell. So how do you just do effective questioning strategies? What do you do to get that person?
So we sit down. So, when we sit down with we actually go walk. I get people out and walk the property.
Okay.
I said, because before we even put a system, I explained to them, first thing we got to do, if you need it, is a defensible space.
A defensible space. What's that?
So that means you clear out everything away from the house.
Okay.
All your bushes and flower. You still have grass and flower beds, that's fine. But if you have a tree that can fall onto the house, it's got to go.
Nobody wants to hear that, though.
They don't want to hear it, but the system is only as good as, but if that tree falls and hits your house,
right
now we're like, but I do take them into the future. It's like, well, think about it like this. When, and I'll do 2 scenarios with people. We're out walking the property and I look over here and I said, okay, what is your reaction? You see a fire 5 miles away. What is your first reaction?
And it is what do they say?
They're like, well, is it coming my way?
Yeah. So they go check the wind.
Well, they check the wind, but they also listen, you start looking for the sheriff's office or getting a call or getting a text or, some type of alert. And I said, now think about it and it's coming towards your home. What are you going to do? And they're like, we really haven't thought of that.
But that's the point we want to make in sales.
Yeah.
You can't tell somebody they have pain. They have
right. That's why I said
one of our lines is people will never buy your product or service until they discover they need it.
Right.
So you're the tour guide. Your job is to just guide them along this path and get them to discover they need your product or service. If you tell them, they resist. So those of you that watch, whether it's a product like John has, the biggest problem you have is salespeople. We know our product is great. We can't wait till tell somebody.
Right, I understand that, but but that's what I'm saying is I tell them, what would you do?
Well, you ask them.
Yeah, I'm asking okay, What would be your
That's,
steps?
yeah, when you're telling, you're not selling.
Right,
So ask them, how would you deal with this? That together they discover that they need your product or service. So, when we really think that people are motivated to action by the intensity of their pain. They don't have any, they have pain, they just don't realize it till you ask them questions and it intensifies the pain. Is that fair to say?
yes.
Okay. So what would your product have done differently, or what could have been prevented in these California wildfires? I mean, the winds were great, but if these people had these protection systems,
Well, for one, the foam, the first stage system that would have got deployed on the ground, because we try to go out 300 feet.
okay,
Or we go out to the property line, which, a bare minimum of 50 feet, we hope. But as close as those houses were, be a little tough.
okay,
So we go to the property line and try and get that moat defense set up to where, it will defend against the embers right away. And then once the fire got a little bit closer, then that's when we deploy the water system, which would be the water domes.
okay,
And the water domes last anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. It's all calculated on the size of the house. Then when the fire goes by, and here's the other nice thing too, is the fire department doesn't need to put resources on that structure or that property.
okay,
Because
it's already taken care of, okay,
It's already taken
they
care
can
of.
go somewhere else that isn't protected.
And I mean, the fire gel we use will stop anything up to 5,000 degrees.
Okay.
And the average temperature of a wildfire is 1,472 degrees.
Hence the name of your company.
Yep.
1472.
So you're getting 4x protection.
Okay.
The gel is wonderful, and I mean, the best part about the gel, it's edible. And it's used in, it's been certified by the U.S. Forest Service to use in endangered species.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. It's kind of in sales.
Yeah.
The same with our theme, and other people watching us could follow along. You could make more sales, or you could sell your product if you could just, how would you finish that sentence?
Well, that's a good one there. Just educate the public.
Okay. Well, then all the fires that are going on in California right now certainly are going to cause pain.
Oh, there's pain big time.
So people now start thinking that aren't even the people, I mean, it's too late now for some people,
Right.
but other people that are now seeing this, I mean, we're all going to be affected by it, because I was talking to a guy this morning, all of our insurance rates are going up.
Oh, yeah. I
The
mean,
insurance companies have got to pass these claims on.
right.
So even of us that aren't in high fire areas are going to feel.
Mhm. Oh, you can feel it. Here's the other thing you're gonna feel too is, and I know here in Colorado, there's some insurance companies already just pulled out of the state.
Right.
They will not insure insure a home. And that's where our system comes in. And it will give you that peace of mind.
Okay.
That you're protected. I mean, think about, here's another scenario too that I'll run through is you're sitting on the beach in Waikiki. You get a text on your phone, wildfire in your area. I want it to go just like this. Oh, 1472 has us protected. In fact, I'm actually going to do a commercial with that. And then, where they go, okay, and then they'll break, then they'll show them driving home through the burnt ashes, but they get home and their house is there.
Okay.
And they'll put trust.
Well, there's no denying you have a product that is.
Yeah, it's just getting the people to see the pain, and that's one of the biggest challenges.
So like some of the other people selling other products or services similar to yours, where they know they need it. The analogy I use is the movie Nanny McPhee. In the movie, she's a nanny, and the kids don't want her to be there. And just that they're doing things to try and get rid of her. And she says, if you remember the movie, she said, the clip's on YouTube. She says, when you don't want me, but need me, I'll be here. When you want me, but don't need me, then I'll leave. And that's kind of like your product. People might not know they need your product or service, until the wildfire is 5 miles away
Yeah,
and the
and
wind
then
is blowing their direction.
Yeah.
Now they wish they had you. And I assume that happens to a lot of our people that are watching this. Same thing. They know people need their product or service, but the person doesn't see it. Or they're willing to take the risk. I assume that's what's really happening many times with you.
right, a lot of people are like, well, we've dodged 2 wildfires already.
Okay. So I think here's the sales trainer coming out in me for this. So the pain that they have, that they know they have, isn't great enough to motivate them to action. But the pain that they might not think about, like, okay, we're going to live for a year, how am I going to be able to survive? Those other things, that's that future pain. So the analogy I use in sales training, some of you've heard it and maybe you won't. I got a nice, see the cut right there, John? Nobody else can see it, but I got a cut there. Let me tell you what happened. I'm one of these weekend warriors. I think I can build anything. I'm not going to pay the money to have something. And Tyler, my son, when he was younger, wanted one of those backyard monstrosities, those rainbow play systems, the Ford slides and all that.
I remember building a few of those.
Right. So we go to this place, this facility, and they got an indoor playroom. They've got all these things. And after playing with one, he said, "This is the one I want, Dad. I want this one with the slide, the swing, the climbing wall." So I tell the guy, "So, Dad, how much is that one?" He says, $2,200. I said, "Okay, I'll take it." And he writes up the order and he hands it to me, and it's 3,200, not 2,200.
Oh, wow.
And I said,
No.
He said, "Well, you want it delivered and installed, don't you?" And oh no, I can build this thing. And so after 3 trips in my SUV, I finally get all the boxes there. I lay them out, and I'm not the C style person. I don't read directions. I figure out it looks like a giant Lincoln log. So I can put this thing together. And so I start putting together this 4x4 with lag bolts, a 9-inch lag bolt. And after about 2 hours of this thing, it's leaning like this. It's not. It doesn't look like a picture. So I figure, I better start all over again and read the directions. So I'd start to take it apart, but I cannot get one of these 9-inch lag bolts out. I just can't get it out. And I got to cut it with a hacksaw. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it's easier, actually faster for me to run down to the Ace Hardware store and buy a new hacksaw blade than find one of the 9 that's in my garage somewhere.
Yeah.
So I get a clean new blade, first cut right there. Ouch. Clean surgical cut, though, brand new blade,
Yeah, oh yeah.
But what's the first thing we do when we cut ourselves, guys?
Ouch.
We swear and we put it in our mouth at the same time. And I had some tissue in my pocket,
So
and I got some duct tape and I wrapped it up.
You kept going.
It was a clean surgical cut, so it didn't hurt. So I was not motivated to action by the intensity of my pain. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. Went back to work putting this thing together. Next morning, Sunday morning, I woke up. Oh my God, terrible pain. Terrible, unbelievable pain.
Got infected.
Now, in my ear. Because the duct tape had leaked all over my wife's brand new sheets. I told you to go to the emergency room. I told you to get this. The moral of the story is the pain came, and now I'm motivated to go to the emergency room, and now it even caught more, now they got cleaned out and everything like that. The pain came from somewhere else that motivated me to go to the emergency room. And that's the moral of the story today, folks, is that you as a salesperson, that person doesn't understand the need for your product or service. You've got to help them find pain somewhere else if the first pain isn't enough to motivate them to action. And that's kind of the story what you're talking about was the first pain is my house might burn down, but yeah, I got insurance for that. But what's the other pain? The pain that if I'm self-employed, I can't run my business. There's pain that's, and I got to live with somebody else.
Right.
How am I going to do this stuff? My insurance rates are going to go up now again. I mean, I don't know how some of these people that have a mortgage, if the insurance company pulls out, what are they going to do? Because the mortgage company requires insurance to cover their risk.
Yeah. Until it's paid off.
Right. So my point is you have to identify another pain that motivates them to action. Now, and again, be careful. You can't tell them. Because if you tell them they have pain, they'll resist.
Yeah.
So as a salesperson, the moral of today's story is how do I get somebody who either doesn't believe or doesn't know they need my product or service to recognize it? And it's step by step. It's people are motivated to action by intensity of their pain. You can't tell them they have pain. they have to discover a different pain that would motivate them to buy your product or service. So let's move over a little bit. Anything else you want to talk about for the wildfire before we move over to lithium batteries?
I think I mean, like I said, we talked about that. So yeah, we're good there.
Let me check to see if anybody's put anything in the chat room. Nothing. If anybody that's watching wants to put anything in the chat, has any questions
Yeah,
or
have any
whatever.
questions, ask, please.
And John, why don't you, for those people that aren't watching live, but watching on the YouTube channel, how could they get in touch with you?
So the couple ways you can get in touch with me is email me at JON@1472protection.com or call me at 970-691-5947. Call or text there. That's the two best ways to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Or go to the website 1472protection.com.
So let's move over to the other product or service that you have that people might not need or know that they have. And that's talking about the lithium batteries in our cell phones and our laptops. Tell me about what's going on in that world.
So, everything's going to batteries now, and they're having a real hard time putting lithium batteries out. Just like here in Fort Collins.
Putting them out, putting the fire out.
Putting the fire out, yeah. So what happens, all the electrodes start going real fast, it turns into a thermal runaway where, the battery will start exploding. The cells will start exploding. And the best way I tell people about this is get a brick of Black Cat firecrackers and light it off. You see how the firecrackers go all over the place? Well, a lithium battery does the same thing, but it blows up first and then it starts going all over the place. And you have these little hot balls at 3,600 degrees. And, and there's really hardly anything out there to put anything out there effectively to put out a fire, where I got a fire gel that will put it out and keep it out because it keeps the
phone. You've heard of it, but phone catches on fire.
Yeah.
Why don't I just pour my tea over it or pour water on it?
Well, okay. So here's the other thing too. So since it has its own, a lithium fire and a regular fire are two different fires. Regular fire, like your wood fire, everything knows. Everyone's heard about the fire triangle.
Right.
You just take one away, fire's out.
Oxygen, right.
Lithium battery, you have to take all three away.
For those who don't know, what are the three?
So you have ignition, source, and fire. And
so lithium battery keeps burning.
yeah, because it creates its own oxygen.
Okay.
And so what our product does, comes in and cools down the cells and keeps them.
Okay.
Compared to water, where it will eventually get cool. So case in point here, you have a EV or a electric vehicle fire. Regular car use about 200 to 300 gallons of water max. Take a guess what it is for an electric vehicle. 8,000. In fact, this last summer they had a Tesla semi catch on fire south of Sacramento, and the only way they could put it out is they brought in helicopter drops.
That much, huh?
Yeah, 50,000 gallons of water and time on scene, and you don't know if you got it all the way out. Because
I see that the fire departments are buying blankets.
Yeah, okay, don't start.
Don't have enough of that time on them. Huh? Do they work? Because
Think about it. Okay, yeah, it covers it up. It'll protect the flames from going out,
but it's still burning.
but underneath, it'll still burn
just
down.
melting down. Okay.
And that's why I say, like here in the Eisenhower Tunnel, if an electric fire ever caught, let's say a car catches on fire in the Eisenhower tunnels.
Yeah, going up the Vale.
Going up the Vale, well, those tunnels just became permanently closed.
Permanently closed.
Because it just, the integrity and tunnel just got changed.
So
Because
it's a matter of not if, but when.
when, because you're burning at 3,600, and I mean that'll affect both the top of the tunnel and the
Okay.
bottom.
So you have a product that can help
Right,
with
I got a
it.
gel that puts it out.
So what's the risk as far as like an individual person?
I mean, the risk is low,
Okay.
but it's still there.
But you gave me an interesting thing. You told me this morning that there's 2 lithium fires on airplanes, on commercial airliners
Every week.
Every week.
Because of the age of the back, a lot of people don't understand,
So what do they need? What do we need to solve that problem?
So actually I got a product I'm working with now to work with the FAA. It's called the lithium battery disposable kit, which consists of 2 fire extinguishers with our XT solution in it, plus a PPE and a 12-gallon tote that has an extra 5 gallons of XT in it. And so what you do is you get the fire extinguisher, put out the lap or the battery first, and then you open up the kit, take out, put the PP on, pour the water or the XT in the bottom of the tote, and then you put the laptop or whatever into that liquid. I mean, once we could just do it with just the fire extinguisher, and it would keep it out. But I'm a firm believer in having a secondary containment.
Okay.
That's the exterior fire protection system. That's the reason why we have the 2 main or 4 stages.
Well, so how do you sell that? And obviously the airlines could use your product.
Right, the airlines are, and we're talking with.
Do they see it as enough of a pain to be
Not
motivated
yet.
to action?
Not yet.
What's going to happen for them to see that that's
Watch
a
a
pain
plane come out of there.
when one of the planes, okay, fills up with smoke and
Right, because here's the other thing too, with the lithium battery, that smoke has a hydrochloric acid in it, plus heavy metals.
yeah.
That's not good for the body. If you ever had acid on your skin,
Okay.
you know how it feels. It hurts, burns. But just imagine if you ingest it.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, obviously you're passionate about what you do. You can help a lot of people.
But,
You're the P in the step. When we talk about size of the situation, take them to the pain, extend the pain in the future, propose a solution. You've got the solution.
Yeah.
It's all those other 3 steps to get to a sale.
But see, I also got a garage unit here, and I know here in Fort Collins, if I remember right, last year there were 8 lithium battery house fires, or house fires caused by.
Yeah, my house is pre-wired for a charging station in the garage. So if I had an electric vehicle and that catches on fire, what, a regular fire extinguisher is not going to help as much?
No.
Or no? I mean, I got a fire extinguisher in my garage. Got one right over there on the wall.
Right. Like I said, it's a different fire,
It's a different fire.
different chemicals.
So again, how do you?
So here's the pain. It's like, do you want to lose your house?
Of course not.
And I said,
But I have insurance. I'm just trying to think of how people react.
I know. I said, all right, you want insurance? So I said, okay, cool. You ready to move in with your mom and dad again for 2 years while they rebuild your home?
Okay, so that's for those of you guys watching, I appreciate you saying it that way. Because again, that's critical parent.
That is
So
critical
When
parent.
you want to move into parents. So how could you put it in a nurturing way? Remember, 70% of sales should be nurturing, 30% logical. So logically, you don't want to move into parent. But nurturing, hey, I'm just curious, if you did have a fire, and let's pretend the insurance covered everything, but while they're rebuilding, I'm just curious, where would you live? And how do you feel about that?
And do you have enough reserve?
I suppose you have enough reserve. That's not it.
Reserve.
Again, you got to remember how, those of you watching, you got to
Right.
remember how you present something to somebody so they don't resist it as a critical parent, or you're trying to tell me what
Right.
to do. And when you say, do you have a reserve? You're kind of insulting the person.
All right.
Because in a way you're sitting there saying to them,
Right.
you didn't save up enough money.
Mhm.
I suppose you saved up enough money. That's probably not a concern. The words you want to use are emotional words like concerned, worried, frustrated, bothered, and you put it in a question format. I don't suppose you're worried about where you live while you rebuild. I suppose that's probably not a concern that you have. So staying on topic for what the topic of today's session was, how do you get somebody to understand that they need your product if they don't think they do? And that is through questioning strategies. But again, nurturing. And I think a lot of salespeople, here's where it comes from. A lot of salespeople aren't as nurturing because when you get hired, typically what a company does is they hire you, and now we're going to spend 2 weeks of product knowledge. We're going to teach you why we're greater and better than everybody else. And now they tell you the competition sucks, we're better, everything. So you think, okay, after, boy, they spent 2 to 3 weeks training me on this product knowledge, this must be important. I guess I got to go tell my clients.
All the benefits.
Right. And we get into benefits and features. We get into, let me take the feature of my company and convince you it's a benefit. And when you're trying to convince somebody, that's where the word con artist came from. Convince, con artist, salesperson. When you're trying to push somebody in a direction, they will naturally resist. When you pull them away, then they'll see it. When you pull them from the direction and say, you know, this probably isn't a concern. This is something that you probably doesn't keep you up at night. You know, I've heard salespeople say, so what keeps you up at night? Owner of your company. Well, a little personal. I suppose this doesn't keep you up at night. I suppose this is
right. So instead of saying, you know, like, you know, yeah, it's beautiful to have your car in there, but what if? Wait, what if something happened? Would you have enough time?
You probably have enough time.
You probably
not concerned. Again, I have learned a lot of things as a trainer, and one of the favorite lines I ever had is, prospects believe only half of what a salesman tells them, but 100% of what they say. We choose not to argue with our own data. I'll argue with yours, but I won't argue with mine.
Right.
So if you're the salesman selling to me, you got to get me to say it. Because I believe what I say. I don't believe what you say.
Oh, true. Very
true. If you tell me, oh, this is going to happen, it's only a matter of when, not if, I'm not going to believe you. But if you ask me questions to get me to say, yeah, I probably should be concerned about that. Yeah, that is something. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping people that are watching today's session get is, can't tell somebody, and it is frustrating when you know they need your product or service. I know there's many times I know people need my sales training. I know it. I could certainly help them. But if I tell them, hey, you know what you need? You need me. You've been selling for 20, 30 years, but you need me. You're going to fight me on that. Oh, hard. But if I say, John, you've been selling 30, 40 years, you've been in sales somewhere along the line. I don't know if there's anything I can do to help you. Even if you did hire somebody like me, let's take me out of the equation. Even if you were hiring a sales trainer, what are we hoping that person could do for you? Hopefully you said it, not me. That's what I hope you people watching get from this session, is that you get out of it a systematic approach to getting the client to discover they need your product or service, and don't try and load them up with benefits and features. Right. Latest, greatest, most improved. I did a training for those people that are in Milwaukee watching. I did a training for the Milwaukee Builders Association, Metropolitan Builders Association. I went to the website of all the 400 different builders that were members of that association, because they list links to all of their websites. The first 40 I went through, and I didn't go past 40, but the first 40 I went into, every one of them started with, we've been in business since 1960. We've been in business for 5 years. We've been a family business. Every one of them talked about how long they've been in business. Now that's the feature of the company. That's the feature. Why is that a benefit to me as a potential buyer? Well, what you're assuming is credibility. We've been in business for a while. But again, I might be the kind of person that says, when you say, well, I've been in business since 1971, well, you've been screwing people for 50 years. You know, is it important to me that you've been in business? I might sit there and say, no, I don't want somebody who's been a builder for 50 years. I want the guy just started, because maybe they know more about green technology. Maybe I'm looking at bamboo floorings. Maybe, again, to assume that your feature is a benefit to the client is taking a huge risk. So that's why you have to ask questions. Suppose I said, we're a family-owned business. I'm not sure if that has any relevance to you, or is that something you care about?
I could say family-owned.
that's important to you? Why,
Yeah.
why us being a
I know,
family
I just
business might
think-
help you?
I don't know, it's just one of those things that was ingrained into me.
Okay, so, see, now he said it, not me.
Right.
And that's what I hope you guys get out of this is take your feature and benefit. I'm not saying your feature and benefit aren't important. They're important to you so you know you're representing a good company. You know what the client cares about? Do they care about your features and benefits? What do they care about? Yeah, any idea? All they care about is can you fix my pain?
Yep.
That's what they care about. They don't care about your
Do you
features.
have the
and benefits.
medicine for my pain?
Right, that's what they care about. That's what you gotta really find out from that client is what it is. So the last thing I want to talk about today, if we have a little bit of time here, is when we talk about, if this phone catches on fire in my car, I throw it out the window. What am I gonna do if right? First of all, it's gonna burn my hands to pick it up and throw it out the
I
window.
was gonna say, if you grab it,
But if I
gonna
start
burn the
getting,
hell out of your
if I start getting smoke in my car, what do I do?
pull your windows down as
Roll my
fast
windows, okay, pull over, get out of the car,
and throw it in the middle of the road and hope no one else is around.
okay? Now. for car-
But that's if you can even grab it.
So now what happens? I'm private
But if-
pilot.
but if it's-
I'm flying my Cessna 172. My instruments start to
Ooh.
catch on fire. What do I do?
Grab the fire extinguisher.
Right,
Put
if
it
I
out.
got one in my small plane,
If you have,
we were talking about that earlier, that
yeah,
almost all boats are required by the Coast Guard to
but
have
yet
one.
the airplanes don't.
But I don't know, yeah, I don't,
I don't think that, I don't have to look.
okay.
But
What
I mean,
what do I do in that situation?
you know, that there is where, you know, if you had our aircraft fire extinguisher, you could just,
Okay, so let's say you're at the EAA, the Air Experimental Aircraft Association up in Oshkosh. Thousands of pilots in a plane,
Right.
it's a huge place there. And you set up a booth and you're trying to sell your
so here we go,
product.
so it's like
How
a
do you sell your product to a private pilot?
question. You know,
What's the pain he might have?
so one of the pains you might have is, you know, like I say, the battery going up in the lap, in his,
Get smoke in his cockpit,
Get
can't see.
smoke in the cockpit, can't see, depending on where the pad's at, engine fire.
Right,
You know, you don't know if that lithium battery, you know, one of those cells are gonna hit the engine and all of a sudden it hits a gas line and blows up the whole airplane and him inside.
well, you started by saying when we started 45 minutes ago that, hey, lithium batteries, there's so many batteries now and laptops.
Mm.
My first airplane was a 1946 Aranca Chief. And
Right.
the instruments were vacuum instruments, basically an air
Yeah.
altimeter, speed and everything. Today, everything's electronic. And a lot of pilots are carrying around this phone has got more instruments on my first airplane. Right, but they're carrying around portable units, they've got the GPSs, they got phones, they got iPads has got ForeFlight, all these other ones on it. Is that a big concern, or is it just the pain isn't there yet until one of these catches on fire and a plane crashes because of it?
The pain is there,
They just don't know it.
they just don't know it. You know, because you don't know what's gonna happen, I mean, especially, you know, depending on how old your iPad is, I mean, the battery only has so long. You know, you probably got 2 to 5 years out of a battery.
And it becomes more likely of a catching on fire, the older the battery is.
Yeah. Because you know, when it recharges, you're losing the integrity of the battery.
Okay.
You know, and then really, you know,
Are there any warning signs?
You know, and here's the other
Other
thing.
than the smoke
Here's-
cone?
well, I mean, you'll hear a hiss. You know, like the videos we watched yesterday,
Oh, yeah, you start to hear it before
you
it pops.
hear it, then you see smoke and it pops. You know, when you hear that hiss, you better be grabbing for that fire extinguisher.
Get rid of it.
Because you're in a cockpit of a plane, and let's say that pad is right here.
Mhm.
What's underneath that pad right
Just
now?
your legs.
You know, that's gonna burn your legs right there.
I don't have rudder control.
And you're screwed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's
So again, you have a product and even for private
right, and I
pilots,
mean, on it, and with this, it's, you know,
it's just a
this
different
is-
fire extinguisher.
huh?
This fire extinguisher is different as far as the gel that's in it as
Mhm.
opposed to what's in a regular one.
Right. Halon's in the
What is it?
Halon,
Is in a regular fire
and a
extinguisher.
regular fire
And
extinguisher.
yours is a different.
Fire Ice XT, which is a different compound. It's already UL certified.
Gotcha.
So it's already been through all the testing, it's been around.
So
for
private
50
pilots should be buying those types of fire extinguishers. Can they get them from you?
I sell them as a separate line, but yeah, it's
Okay.
part of our revenue.
So
stream.
if somebody recognizes, hey, that's a pain, I'm concerned, worried about a fire in my small plane. Maybe I should get a different fire extinguisher
Right.
than traditionally would have been
With
for the regular
traditional, yeah.
vacuum.
You know, I mean, you might have two different fire, you might have a Class A extinguisher
Mhm.
and then the XT,
Have both.
have both. You know, one for the pad and the other for the rest of the airplane. I mean, the XT will put out the rest of the
Anything.
plane. You don't need to worry, it'll put out everything,
Gotcha.
you know, even special metals.
So any private pilots or aviators that are watching this, maybe they didn't see the first part of this. How should they get a hold of you?
Same way, just give me a call at 970-691-5947 or email me at jon@1472protection.com. And I'll be glad to sit down and explain with them
Okay.
on that. And you know, and I mean, and lithium batteries you could just do nothing but increase. I mean, they're increasing every year.
Well, yeah, the different types of it. I mean, there's.
You know, and a lot of people don't understand, even your power tool batteries will light up. Or here's the other one, you know, what's very popular right now, the e-bikes.
Well, sure, electronic, yeah.
You know, I got a video on my LinkedIn profile where a guy's carrying his e-bike battery into an elevator. And as soon as the door closed up, the battery exploded.
Ew, in the elevator.
In the elevator. You know, and here's the scary part about lithium. You don't know when it's gonna explode.
No. Just checking to see if anybody had any
Questions?
comments or questions. Let's open it up. If there's anybody that's online right now has a question, you can either put it in chat or open up your mic. Go from there. There's a question comment. Hi, Janelle. Janelle says, great information. Wes is on. Good. Wes, anything? Chat is disabled. Shouldn't be. I apologize for that. Oh. All right. Well, let's close with any comments that close, finish, any tips that you have for salespeople that are watching this?
I mean, the biggest thing, you know, to get the best protection, or let's just go for the wildfire side. I'll talk about first. Put in a defensible space around your home.
Anybody can do that. Just make
Anybody
sure,
can
yeah.
do that, you know, get your own chain. I mean, your weekend warrior can do that,
Gotcha.
you know, and
How
there's,
far do they need to go
it
away?
all depends on, you know, what it is.
Okay.
You know, me, I go 30 feet or I'll look at a tall tree. And if that tree hits the house, it's gone.
Okay.
You know, here's the other thing too. Interesting thing here is a lot of people have wood fences hooked to their houses.
Yeah, stockade fences, yeah.
Think of it like this, and this was very apparent in the Marshall fire we had 3 years ago. They had 4 engine crews out knocking down wood fences from the side of the house. Because
It looks like just a fuse.
it's a big fuse, and a lot of people don't understand
As soon as you mentioned that, what came to my mind is like a fuse that's just
No.
gonna keep burning along.
And actually, here's another thing too. If you want to see the differences, I got a book online on my website at 1472protection.com called Hidden Dangers. If I remember right, I think it's either chapter 5 or 6 has an interactive. I wrote an interactive chapter of what is a good defensible space looks like to the worst. Because here's something else. If you have a bunch of trees and a bunch of trees around your house, you have the fence going to your house, wooden fence, the fire department won't even mess with it. Because once the tree goes up, let's say it crowns, and when it's wildfire crowns, what's that mean is when it goes up and it starts crowning the top of the trees. That's how it moves real quick with the wind. Once it starts crowning, I mean, so let's say you got this little log cabin here, but you got 6 trees right next to it, big mature trees up top, and you got this nice, beautiful shade dome. There's no way a fire department can save that house.
Okay.
Because it's just gonna catch fire. You got multiple fuses going right into that area. That's where, if you have a good defensible space around your house, you have a chance.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. How about a sales tip? You've been in sales for a long time. You've got to sell product services. It's really difficult. Great product, but it's difficult. Any advice you give those people that are watching us?
If you're having problems, hire someone. That's the best way I can. I mean, for me, sales, it's for me personally, and I know I get a lot of kickback on it. Sales for me is hard
Because
I don't know. I get bound up. It's me. It's a psychological thing.
okay. Well, we'll talk about that next time. The next session I'll do next week is on messages from childhood that hold us back.
What
Your mama said, don't talk to strangers,
yeah.
don't take money from strangers,
Yep.
do things you have to do in sales.
Yep.
So it's probably something in your upbringing
Childhood, which I know it is.
is holding you back from selling.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that next time. So, John, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Wayne. I appreciate it.
All right, and we just pray for all those people out in California.
Oh,
now
yeah, I
because
mean,
of
that's-
we apologize.
I mean, that's the Marshall Fire on steroids.
All right, thank you very much.